Hey guys, we've got another episode in the Unity editor today. This one's about visual physics. It's a fun one, so let's go. So here we are in the Unity editor, and before us here is a circle, or a sphere actually, it's in 3 space. And I'm going to move it around, and you're going to see that right now it's just doing what things normally do in computer games. They just move around, and it's not very interesting. It just looks like an object moving in 3D. I mean, it's kind of cool, you have perspective and stuff, so whoa, camera, that kind of thing. And yeah, that's it. It doesn't really have any weight to it. It just feels like an object moving in 3D, and I can try to emulate how a ball would bounce. It's like bounce, 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 bounce. Yeah, it kind of feels like it has weight, but not really. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the camera, and I'm going to enable a certain image effect. And this is a blurring effect. It's just motion blur. And this is designed to, this is how a lot of modern video games will do a blur effect, just to get some kind of sense of motion. And you can see that there is motion blur here, and it kind of helps when things are moving fast, but at the same time the ball is hard to see now, and it doesn't really have any more weight. I'm just kind of doing some sample motions like gravity and that sort of thing. It doesn't feel like anything. So I'm going to go back into the camera, and I'm going to remove this blur. And instead I'm going to enable the image effect I've done, which is adding true visual physics. And yeah, here we go. Now when I move the object around, it has this kind of, it has weight to it. It feels like a cartoon almost. I'll do the little ball dropping thing. Boom, 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 boom. You know, it's a lot more fun to move this around now compared to even like the perspective motion it has. This is so much more fun to move around. It feels like I'm controlling a cartoon even in this early primitive stage. And the faster I move it, the more it stretches, and the better it feels. Yes. So let me show what's going on. I'm going to first I'm going to turn off the updating here. Now when I move the object, you see that it stretches out, and this is what happens in each frame when something moves. And if you remember from my earlier videos when I showed examples of cartoons and characters are moving fast, it's a very similar effect to that. In a still frame, with fast motion, you get this kind of pulled image. So this object is covered in what are called vertices. I wish I could show the wireframe view right now. Maybe I'll do a picture of it later. So basically the circle's made up of a lot of small points, and when it's moving, it knows where the points were in the last frame and the current frame. It gets a direction from those 2 points, and then it compares it to the normal of the point. And from there it knows whether to use the end position or the starting position. And, due to the magic of updating quickly, that's how you get this kind of stretchy animation. The object feels like it has weight now. It's fantastic. The other cool thing is that this kind of blending, you can change the curve that it occurs on. So if I, for example, change it to make a small change to the code, now I get something that feels much more, you see now it's trying to weight things more closely to either endpoint, and you get something that feels kind of sticky almost, or something that's like made of clay. So there's like much more of a pulling effect rather than a stretching effect. I can do this, I can change the curve in other ways too, and each of these effects is pretty cool because it's just a single value that's changing, and it really changes how the entire object feels. So in this case, when I move the circle, it weights things much more heavily towards the end than the beginning, and it makes it feel heavy, like you're kind of dragging around a bag of sand. But it also looks cool for something like bullets, because you get this kind of like delayed effect of like the little point and then something going through. And this is, again, this is just a single value changing, and it really changes how like the circle feels when it moves. Like this doesn't feel like a circle now; it feels like a bullet racing across the screen. Oh, I think I lost it. Let's get it back. Oh, here we are. And if I do the opposite, you get something that feels very light. Just because, it's moving almost instantly, it's just leaving something behind. Oh, let's get it updating. So, that's the effect. And if I go and I'm going to go and turn it off again for a second just so you can see what it looked like before. Again, here's the old motion. Doesn't feel real like the other one feels real. And I'm going to re-enable the classic effect, but I'm going to make one other change to the script. I'll explain what it is in a second. So when I'm moving objects like this, I don't use the previous frame, I use the frame, not the previous frame, but the object's position from 2 frames ago. And this exaggerates the motion even more like you'd expect from a cartoon, but now I've switched it to just be the very last frame. And you can see the effect is more subdued, but it still exists. And now you have to have even more fast motion to get any kind of stretching. So it's somewhere between like not having any effect at all and having an effect, but it still smooths out the motion. This feels much more realistic. So like a realistic cartoon could use something like this where you don't want kind of a hilarious level of stretching, but you still want some kind of smooth motion. You still want things to have weight. This is much better, and you can go even further or less in terms of that. Really anything is better than no visual lerping at all. I'm going to go back to the more cartoony vision now because now I'm making a cartoon. And at this point I'm going to go over some of the caveats, not really limitations, but just caveats of working with this system. So first I'm going to change the model to the little coin that I've been using in the outline tests. And as I move it around, you're going to see that it doesn't stretch, it just looks weird as I update it too. So what's going on here is that this object isn't actually connected. The ring is a separate piece from the front, and like this inner area here or the question mark, these are all separate, so when they're being stretched, they're not pulled together as one. Also, their normals, they're not designed for stretching, where you'd really want the edges here to have normals in this direction and this direction, so that motion would feel proper. These aren't really limitations, they're just kind of things you have to know about so that you make good assets that will work well with the stretching system. And since I intend on making everything, to generate everything, I can make sure those constraints are met. In another video I'll have made a coin that conforms to the kind of setup that the stretching system needs, and you can get a better view of it in action. The next thing you're probably wanting to see is the stretching system, or this kind of visual physics used with the outlining system to get, like the real cartoony effect, and I can't show that just yet. I'll be going over that in probably a video next week. The quick explanation is that Unity, when you're actually modifying meshes like this, it doesn't store it to the depth buffer, and that's information we need to build the outlines. So what you have to do is you have to start writing your own depth buffer to be able to get the information you need to put an outline around these kind of stretched motions. We need to do that again for other reasons, so that's the next step I'm working on, but I don't have that to show just yet, and that's going to be a pretty technical video, so I'm going to save that for its own topic. Yeah, this is the effect so far, and I hope you agree that it looks pretty awesome. I hope you like it, and I will see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.